They thought she was just another tired server in a dusty roadside bar, someone to ignore someone who didn't matter. But that night proved how wrong they were. I still remember it like it happened yesterday, the smell of stale beer, the hum of the jukebox, the scrape of boots on wooden floors. Then the crash, a beer mug exploding against the ground, silence, rippling through the room like a wave. Everyone turned eyes, landing on a big man in the center of the bar, fists tight chest, puffed like he owned the place. At the far end stood Lena Brooks, 35 years old, skin the color of roasted chestnuts, long braids falling over her shoulders as she kept wiping down the counter. She didn't flinch, didn't look up, didn't give him the satisfaction. To most folks in that corner of Alabama, Lena was invisible. She was the help, the woman people called girl, instead of her name, the one who smiled politely while collecting tips half the size of her white coworkers. She'd learned to move quiet, to keep her head down, because being invisible was safer. Or at least that's what she told herself. But that night, safety wasn't in the cards. Around 8, the rumble started, 10 Harleys thundering down the highway rattling the windows before the engines even died. The Iron Vultures Motorcycle Club had arrived, leather vests, glistening chains, clinking eyes hidden behind black shades, even though the sun had set hours ago. Their reputation rode in before them. Bars torched owners, beaten half to death, the kind of men who fed on fear. Leading them was their king, Royce Maddox, better known as Vulture. 6'3", shoulders like a wall, and a snake tattoo climbing up his neck. He walked in like he was inspecting property he already owned. His men spread out with predator precision, blocking exits, cutting off sightlines. To a casual eye, it looked like swagger. To Lena, who noticed the limp in one man's gait, the tremor in another's hand, it looked like a tactical maneuver. She didn't panic. Her years had taught her to breathe slow when chaos arrived. Vulture leaned over the bar, breath heavy with whiskey. "Evening, sweetheart. We're here for a friendly little talk." "Where's your boss? Out of town?" Lena murmured, eyes still on the counter. "Well, ain't that convenient," he smirked. "Then you'll just have to pass along a message. $5 grand a month and nothing bad happens here. Understand?" The room stiffened. Folks knew the game, pay or burn. The sheriff, off duty and sitting in the corner with his coffee, didn't move. Construction workers and old vets watched, waiting to see which way the wind blew. Lena kept her voice steady. "I'll let him know you stopped by." That simple dismissal made Vulture's smile twitch. His men chuckled a low growl. One wiry biker slapped Lena's backside when she passed with a tray. "Bring us some smiles with those drinks, girl," he sneered. She slid just out of reach, calm face hiding the fire in her chest. Pitchers of beer arrived, laughter picked up, but under it all hung tension, a live wire waiting for a spark. Vulture watched her circling closer. When she set down another pitcher, his hand shot out, gripping her wrist hard enough to bruise. "You listening to me?" His voice carried through the room. "When I say this place pays, it pays. And when I talk to you, you look me in the eye." She whispered, "Let go of me." He laughed, sharp and humorless. "Oh, you've got backbone. Maybe I should teach you your place." With a yank, fabric tore loud as a gunshot. Her shirt split open, cotton hanging in shreds. And the entire bar went dead silent. Black ink spread across Lena's back, an eagle with wings unfurled, talons gripping the globe, and anchor-bold letters curving beneath. 75th Ranger Regiment. Her scars told the rest, a knife line across her shoulder, shrapnel puckering her ribs. These weren't accidents. These were the souvenirs of war. Whispers rippled. "She's a ranger," someone breathed. Veterans sat straighter, eyes sharp with recognition. Even Vulture's grip loosened, confusion flashing in his eyes. Lena finally looked up, steady, unblinking. Lena Brooks, Sergeant First Class, United States Army Rangers. 3 tours overseas, 2 Bronze Stars, Purple Heart, and the last person you should have put your hands on tonight. The bravado drained from the bikers' faces. The sheriff set down his cup slow. like he'd just remembered the taste of war himself. The balance of power shifted so fast you could feel the air change. Vulture tried to sneer. So what, Ink? Don't scare me. Nobody cares what you used to be. But his voice wavered thin and brittle. Lena's reply cut clean. You fight to intimidate. I fought to survive. And I'm still here. Then she did something no one expected. She pulled out her dog tags chain glinting under the dim lights. You think fear makes you strong? It doesn't. Discipline does. Courage does. Loyalty does. And I still carry all of it. She stepped closer, her voice dropping into a tone that felt more like a command than a request. Kneel. For a second he resisted, his jaw-locked fists trembling. But the weight in her voice, the voice of someone who had ordered men into fire and brought them back, sliced right through him. His knees hit the floor with a thud that echoed louder than any crash before. Gasps rippled through the bar. His men froze, watching their leader kneel before the woman they'd mocked minutes earlier. You broke glass in my bar, Lena said, eyes never leaving him. You laid your hands on me. You threatened this place, these people. You owe me an apology. I'm sorry, he muttered. Louder, I'm sorry. His voice cracked, desperation leaking through. She nodded once calm. Now you're going to walk out of here, and you're going to tell every man in your crew that this roadhouse is off limits, that this county is protected by people who have seen worse than you on our easiest days. And you're never coming back. No one backed him up. His crew shuffled toward the door, swagger gone, loyalty evaporated. Outside, the roar of engines sounded less like thunder and more like retreat. Inside, the bar exhaled. Veterans exchanged glances of respect. The sheriff finally stood, voice gravelly. Miss Brooks, you could have pressed charges. You had every right. Lena shook her head. Men like that don't learn from courtrooms. Sometimes the only justice they understand is remembering they're not as powerful as they think. Word spread quick. By the next week, Lena wasn't invisible anymore. The bar filled with veterans, old jackets, faded patches, quiet men carrying ghosts. They came not just to drink, but to sit where dignity lived. They called her the Black Ranger, whispered her name like a legend. At first, Lena hated the spotlight, but then something happened. Stories spilled across the tables, Fallujah, Kabul, Baghdad, memories heavy as stone. By admitting her own scars, Lena gave others the courage to share theirs. Carter's Roadhouse became more than a bar. It turned into a sanctuary. The walls filled with patches, photos, medals left behind with reverence. Tuesday nights became therapy sessions disguised as laughter and beer. Even civilians began showing up, asking questions, listening, learning that veterans weren't broken relics, but human beings, resilient, flawed, alive. And Lena realized something she had long buried: peace isn't found in hiding. It's built story by story, night after night in places like this. Months later, newspapers picked up the story, Black woman veteran stares down outlaw gang. Some called her a hero, others called her reckless. She didn't care. For her, it wasn't about triumph or humiliation. It was about standing her ground and creating a place where others could do the same. And here's where I leave it to you. Was she right? Was humiliation in front of a crowd the justice those men deserved? Or should she have let the law take its course? How many times have you seen someone underestimated only to realize they carried battles you couldn't imagine? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about dignity, about hidden strength, about what justice really looks like. And if stories like this hit you the way they hit me, subscribe, because we've got plenty more that'll make you rethink the ordinary.